Foreign influence on Australian companies. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here, and welcome to another episode for Heise Says. Working through my stein of coffee, and I thought for my third video today, we would have a look on the issue of foreign influence on Australia's biggest companies. I didn't realise John Holland was actually owned by a Chinese company, which is essentially owned by the Chinese government. I mean, yeah, go free market. So, Australia's biggest companies asked to put themselves on Foreign Influence Transparency Register. More than 500 of Australia's biggest companies and not-for-profits have been asked to put themselves on the Foreign Influence Transparency Register, the ABC can reveal. Documents obtained under Freedom of Information show the big banks, large telecommunications companies, media organisations, including the ABC, multicultural groups and advocacy groups were written to in a mass mail-out earlier this year. The list also includes all Australia's universities, several Chinese language media organisations, controversial Chinese company Landbridge, and some refugee support advocates. Just 45 people and organisations have so far registered. The mass mail-out strongly encouraged recipients to consider whether they had undertaken registratable activity, defined as undertaking on behalf of a foreign principal and for political or governmental influence. Well, I hope this list will become public. Would that influence your interactions with these organisations? The Australian Institute of International Affairs is one such organisation to get the letter. Yesterday, it organised a round table of visiting Chinese academics brought to Australia by the Chinese Embassy. One, Ching Hung of East China Normal University, told the ABC that concerns about China's political influence on Australian politics were a hysterical response to the so-called Mad China threat. It is totally fabricated. Okay, sure. 4 members of China's embassy in Canberra attended the event and helped organise it. But the Institute's executive director, Bryce Wakefield, said he did not believe the event needed to be registered. I had a long conversation with someone from the Attorney General's office because we were interested in this issue, and she said that really the Foreign Influence Transparency Scheme pertains to direct influence of federal politicians and federal politics, and that is not the case here, he said. But the Institute does plan on registering after taking a donation from the Japanese government earlier in the year. The government also asked 227 federal politicians from the last parliament and several government agencies for help in reporting foreign attempts to interfere in political processes. Such agencies include the High Court and the Department of Foreign Affairs, Treasury and Home Affairs. So here is the documents that they requested under the Freedom of Information Act. So let's jump over and have a look at these documents. So we can see here, can I zoom in? Yes. So, dear salutation, the Foreign Influence Transparency Scheme and the 2019 federal election. As you may be aware, the Foreign Influence Transparency Scheme, commenced on the 10th of December 2018. The scheme is designed to provide the public and government decision makers with visibility of the nature, level and extent of foreign influence on Australia's government and political processes. What about the Victorian state government? Under the scheme, obligations to register arise in the following circumstances. A registrable activity is being undertaken, and the activity is undertaken on behalf of a foreign principal, and the purpose of the activity is for political or government influence, and no exemptions apply. For the purpose of the scheme, registrable activities are parliamentary lobbying, general political lobbying, communications activity, and disbursement activity. While general political lobbying, bringing over a bunch of academics to present at events, wouldn't that be considered general political lobbying? What about the behaviour of, Get Up? If they're receiving foreign donations, perhaps. Importantly, any communications activity must include a disclosure making clear that the informational material is produced, communicated or disseminated on behalf of a foreign principal and is a registrable activity under the Foreign Influence Transparency Scheme Act 2018. This obligation applies regardless of whether the person or entity undertaking the communications activity was already registered. Please see Fact Sheet 10, Disclosures in Communication Activity, on the Attorney General's Department website for further information. So that's interesting. I mean, if for argument's sake, you're getting handed a how to vote card and it's clearly labelled on there that this was funded by a foreign organisation, I mean, I've got no problem with that, so long as it's clear and transparent and people know that they are being influenced by foreign lobbying organisations or foreign governments or foreign businesses. Why not? I mean, definitely happens. Everyone knows that. You'd be foolish not to think about it. And so long as it's made clear to people, then they might dig a bit deeper and look at the organisations that are supporting these advocacy groups. I mean, if you have, a value for democracy and liberty, would you be aligning yourself with organisations that are supported by socialist, nationalistic, or nations or organisations or businesses owned by them? So back to the letter. I strongly encourage you to consider whether the scheme applies to your current circumstances as a matter of urgency, and to continue to monitor the issue as circumstances change. It is an offence not to register if you are required to do so, and penalties apply. Registration is done through a secure portal hosted on the department's website. Registrations must be completed within 14 days of entering into an agreement to undertake a registrable activity, or within 14 days of undertaking a registrable activity, whichever is sooner. So changes to registration and reporting timeframes in the lead up to the election. So during a voting period, more stringent obligations apply under the scheme. This is because during this period, there will be increased activity aimed at influencing political processes or influencing the public or sections of the public in relation to political processes. It is vital that there is transparency about the source of these activities for the Australian community. And I agree with that. I think, the old buyer beware adage, there's information disparity and it's getting worse today. I mean, in some ways it's good. We've got access to so much information, but a lot of it's filtered and curated. But I see there is this is ensuring political or consumer protection for their political influence. From the 12th of April 2019 until the end of the federal election period on the 18th of May 2019, those who are not already registered in relation to a foreign principal have 14 days to register once an obligation arises. Following registration, all registrants must report additional registrationable activities within 7 days. Those who are already registered in relation to a foreign principal must report any additional registrable activities on behalf of that foreign principal within 7 days of undertaking the activity. Disbursement activities must be registered within 7 days of the value of disbursements reaching the electoral donation threshold of $13,800 or a multiple of these thresholds. More details can be of this obligation is available at Fact Sheet 9, and the same where to get more information. If you're unsure of your obligations after reading this guiding material, I encourage you to contact the Foreign Influence Transparency Scheme team on yada 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 Monday to Friday, or via email. We can see here, looks like it's this. Hang on. Similar letters. Where to get more information? Personal. Redacted, okay. So you can see here, this is from the Freedom of Information request and all the documents they obtained. So hang on, what do we got here? So letter recipients. So, I mean, I won't go through all of these. Let's see, Group of 8, Australian Bankers Association, Australian Financial Markets Association, University of Australia, 350.org, Alibaba Group, Amcor, Ozfilm, Australian Catholic Bishops Conference, AVI, Chinese Community Council of Australia, China South. Look at all these organisations. Get up. Get-ups on there. Oxfam, Plan International, I've spoke about them right when I started my channel, actually. They have some very, I'd say, sexist policies with regards to their apps and things they're developing. RSPCA, Save the Children, the Pew Charity Trust, the Maya Foundation, Toll Group, Origin Energy, Boeing Australia. So yes, this is Ramsay Health. Oh, well, I know them because they're a company. I put a fee proposal in years ago. So yeah, I mean, here you go. You can see all the agencies and media organizations. Is Google on here? Would Google be considered a media organization? Greek. What about YouTube and Google? Parliamentarians. And more parliamentarians. And all the universities. Document ends. So, guys, I think, you know, if you'd like to go through and look at all these organisations, you can just see all the ones that can potentially have University of Queensland can potentially be added to this list. Prince Waterhouse Coopers. Anyway, like, share and subscribe. Tell me what you think. Do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing? Will you be surprised? Do you think the general population knows? Take care, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.